Hello, I am Vaughn Albury. Welcome to Ed Masterclass 101, a program produced by the Communications section of the Ministry of Education. Here, we will speak with stakeholders in education to bring awareness to the work being done to educate the nation's children. Today, we welcome Mr. Anzlo Strachan, the ministry's Chief School Attendance Officer. Welcome, Mr. Strachan.
And thank you very much for having me.
Yes. School attendance officers is a term adopted in 1949 to replace truant officers who were first appointed in 1943. Prior to that, since 1879, police officers were assigned to deal with student absenteeism, as school attendance was made compulsory for children up to the age of 14 years. Parents were fined back then as much as £2. That was a lot of money 100 years ago. Today, children up to the age of 16 years old should be in school. Mr. Strachan, a lot has changed since then. Tell us, what is the scope of works for today's school attendance officer?
Well, the job remains the same in that our job is to ensure that all kids between the ages of 5 and 16 are in school, attending school regularly. That is our main focus. Now, what has changed is the methodology, the way that you get that done has changed a lot.
And tell us about that change. What is the change?
The way it's changed is the Ministry of Education has no longer hired police officers and constables. Okay, these are usually people with degrees in psychology or sociology, some related area, and we do have a number of females now. The females just about equal the number of males on the job, and so we have taken on, and this is why the name changed from truant attendance officer. We take on a more social work approach to dealing with these challenges, because in the past the police type approach, military approach, worked to a certain extent. And
the fear factor.
Yeah, the fear factor. Yes. Because those days, to be a police officer, you had to be over 6 foot tall and some 200 plus pounds. And I'm not very.
No, you sure?
Yeah, I don't fit in that category. And we have had some successes over the years. Officers are now assigned to schools, so they work out of schools, which means
districts or particular schools.
Districts as much as possible, but schools. So you have an office in a school where you're stationed, and you have several other schools that you're assigned to. And once you receive the cases, we actually have the power to go into any school, government school, look at the register, and determine whether or not it warrants some type of investigation.
How long have you been in this post?
I might give you my age if I say.
Yeah, well, let me hear it.
Over 30 years I've been in this post.
And from what you have seen, what are the reasons behind absenteeism? Have they changed?
Yeah, reasons have changed. I came into this job in 1989, and back then, drugs was a prominent factor then. You had the cocaine wars and all that type of thing. So many kids stayed home because they did not see education as being very important. You can drop out of high school and, become a success overnight.
Success in someone else's name.
Yes.
So some of those who were involved in drugs, who absented themselves from school, they're now parents. So does the problem persist?
Yes, the problem persists, but the reasons have changed. It seems to me, a lot of people say, well, parents don't care, and that's the reason why they don't, the children don't go to school. But from my perspective, I see a lot of parents who are overwhelmed. They lack the financial resources and whatnot. in order to effectively, purchase uniforms and all. Mind you, although social services does provide uniform and footwear, but it takes a while to get it. And, sometimes people, pride gets in the way, they're embarrassed to go and ask for help. And, poverty really does play a major factor in children attending school.
Mr. Strawn, as the ministry's chief school attendance officers, obviously your work has been affected by COVID. Tell us about that.
Yeah, our work has actually changed. In November of 2020, realizing, hearing reports of so many children out of school wandering the streets, we decided to step up our street patrol to make every week we did a street. So what we did, we went into various communities to find out how many kids were absent, and communities had different reasons why. One community we went into, most of the kids had tablets and devices. However, the electricity was
An issue.
interrupted on a daily basis. Um, anyway, in all, we um, collected over 100 cases, okay, of children that either were not on or just couldn't get on for various reasons. Um, in addition to that, um, we created an online referral form for the guidance department to refer cases to us. We received over 150 cases just from guidance and counseling. Now, please keep in mind that this is for New Providence, and we have 6 um, attendance officers on the ground. So, in addition to that, attendance officers also receive cases from the various schools, which added up to a few hundred cases. So you're talking in all, uh, approximately 600 cases or so shared between the officers. Now that may not seem to be many, but when you make contact with parents, you may have to call 4 and 5 times before you could actually,
What has been
get
the
some
response of the
response.
parents? Yeah, what has been their response after you
Um,
contact them?
there are a lot of different reasons. Persons were being, sometimes they would get online and then they would get knocked off, or just couldn't get on for various reasons. Realize this is something new. Parents and students are learning how to use the virtual, the online format, as well as teachers. So there's a lot of training that has been going on and continues to be provided, you know.
Last question. You think it'll change when face to face returns? Your work.
Um, I think it would change in a way that we will sort of revert back to some of the things we did before. However, children being absent from school is children absent from school, and one of the things that we discovered, through research, is that absenteeism is the number one predictor. Absenteeism mixed with aggressive behavior is the number one predictor of future criminal activity. So the correlation between attendance, or truancy really, because attendance is absent here and there, but truancy is being absent without an excuse. Um, it leads to later criminal activity. And then a number of these kids drop out of school. But it does take a collaborative effort.
A village.
Yeah, a village, the home, the school, other relevant social agencies, churches, everybody needs to be on board to combat this problem.
Are there female school attendance officers? And does your
Yes.
work include the family islands?
Well, people don't call Grand Bahama a family island, but we do have 2 officers in Grand Bahama, one male and one female, and they're doing an excellent job. Schools are open in Grand Bahama, and they're working feverishly. Grand Bahama is the topography is much different from New Providence in that the island is so large. It may take an hour with no traffic to drive from one school to the next. There are a number of challenges in Grand Bahama. Realize that the economic system in Grand Bahama is not, the same as it is in New Providence.
So
And
is the absenteeism rate higher now in
um,
Grand Bahama and New Providence?
from the recent, we're going through this COVID situation right now. Um,
No, let me ask you. Prior to COVID, is it high?
it's high. Yes, it's high. I think what COVID did, it exposed, it further exposed a problem that already existed. Um, that's what COVID did. The same kids who did not show up to school during prior to COVID, usually are the same ones who are not showing up to school now.
No value for education.
No value for education and a lack of parent support.
So
And that's for
tell me
various
about your
reasons.
work. Without giving us details of a case, give us a scenario when it comes to your work. You see Johnny not attending school for he's been missing 15 days in the past 3 weeks. What happens then?
A phone call is made
To whom?
to the parent or
If I
guardian.
I don't have a phone. You don't have a telephone
Right.
contact for me.
So in that event, there's records kept at school, and which includes the grandparents' phone number and yada yada yada. So if all of those contacts fail, what the officer then does is they would go to the home. Okay, we call it a home visit, and they would sit down with the whomever is there, speak to them to get an idea of exactly what the real problem is.
And quickly tell us, as we're wrapping up now, quickly tell us what happens from there after they've made that visit
Okay,
to the home.
what happens from there is they're advised as to what to do. They come back to the office if they need, further advice from any of the other attendance officers, including myself. They would collaborate with us, and we'd come up with a plan on how to most effectively deal with that particular situation. Every situation is different.
But you need help from the community as well.
We need help from the community. For example, if you're a store owner and at 9:30 a child comes in your store and said, I want a soda, I want some chips, you should not sell those things to that particular child. And something I think is important to say that absenteeism is a predictor of future success.
Good point.
Kids who are chronically absent at the kindergarten and primary school level are 64% less likely to be able to read effectively in third grade.
Wow.
So you see where the problem
Yes,
begins?
yes.
Right in that first grade.
Thank you very much, Mr. Strawn.
Yeah.
Parents, your role is crucial in your child's education. Thank you very much, Mr. Anzlo Strachan, the Ministry of Education's Chief School Attendance Officer, talking about the role absenteeism plays among our students, as well as the role of parents in education. Parents, remember, it is your responsibility to ensure your child's attendance in school, as education is everyone's business. Join us again for another edition of Ed Masterclass 101, a program produced by the Communications section of the Ministry of Education. I am Vaughn Albury. Have a good day.